Hi guys. So I know what you're thinking. Oh boy, she has her glasses on. It must be time for another serious talk. No, not really. I just wanted to talk a little bit about one of my very favorite hobbies, which is reading. And I thought that it might be kind of fun to do a little offshoot from my channel or something like that for BookTube. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's just sort of a community and within YouTube of people who love to read. There's people that do this and that's exclusive on their channel. There's people that every once in a while do it. There's also Bookstagram and things like that. For me, it started off this year with the Reading Rush that they have every year. And if you don't know what that is, just go ahead and search it in YouTube and it'll come up. It's a challenge. And they choose different books, things that you probably wouldn't choose for yourself. And the challenge is to get through these books within that week. And didn't do so hot with that. It was my first time. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break with that. However, because of that, I was a little bit more inspired to be a little bit more mindful about what I was reading, take better notes, just kind of be overall more active with my reading. And I reactivated my Goodreads account and joined a couple book clubs on there. And I thought that maybe I would share typically it's about a 10-day cycle for me to get through all of these. I don't know if I'm going to do this every 10 days. I don't know if I'm going to do it again. I don't know. But for me, what my reading looks like is typically a new release. Sometimes it could be a bestseller or something like that. Usually that's a physical book that I've checked out from the library or borrowed from a friend or something like that. The next one will be not necessarily a new release, but something more popular, something that's been on my want to read list for a while. So it could be a couple years old or something like that. And that's typically also on my tablet, my Kindle. So I can kind of read that across devices as well. And then the third thing that I'll be doing at that time is an audiobook. And typically the audiobooks that I can check out are also, older books. I never want it to be too thought-provoking or intense or anything because my audiobooks are pretty hit and miss as far as when I can sit down and listen to them for long stretches. So that being said, the first one that I'd like to talk about is American Predator, and that came out just about a month ago. And it is about a man named Israel Keyes, and he is quite possibly the most prolific serial killer that you've never heard about. He, at the time he was caught, lived in Alaska. And as things start unraveling, this book just becomes more and more horrifying about how he's traveled and how he's committed these crimes. And the thing that probably struck me the most about it was he had a lot of one-on-one interview time with officials, and there just seemed to be zero remorse whatsoever. And he just seemed to be totally without a conscience. That said, he did have a younger daughter, and he did seem to want to protect her from some of the press and things like that. The book is just, it's all the details that they've put together, all the things that he talks about doing, and he just talks about it so flatly, like matter-of-factly, and it's terrifying that he was seemingly a normal person and just, a little bit flaky, whatever, and just did these crimes and seemed to have zero motive, zero, motivation, just zero, just did it. And there does seem to be, a little bit of deviancy in there, which, the only disappointment that I had with this, and this has nothing to do with the book, is that the book ended rather abruptly, and that has everything to do with Israel and nothing to do with the author of the book. I don't know if I really want to do spoilers, but all I can say is that he is the one that, stopped talking to officials. So that book I would give like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It takes a lot for me to give a book 5 stars. I mean, like, I have to have all the feels. I have to be all up in my emotions. So it was a good book, and it was a fairly fast read. There were a lot of mistakes that officials made, but overall, I really, really enjoyed it. The next book is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and this book had been on my to-be-read list for a really long time, and I kept hearing, oh, you have to read this, you have to read this, and all of these just great accolades about it. And it's an overview of an actress. Her stage name is Evelyn Hugo, but she starts off in a very, very poverty-ridden area in New York, and sort of works her way up through using her sensuality and things like that, and she ends up marrying a guy and moving to Hollywood, and through different relationships and different revelations about herself, she's able to become a Hollywood elite and a lead actress. And the book is told from her viewpoint to a young up-and-coming writer who at that point works at a magazine, and Evelyn will only tell her story to this young writer. And the twists and turns in this book were good. They were it was a great overview of like old Hollywood and the things that studios would do to promote their actors, and sacrifices that were made because of a lack of understanding of different viewpoints and different orientations and things like that. And again, I don't want to give away too much, just in case, you know, it's something that you were thinking of reading. I also have to be fully transparent and say that nothing absolutely rocked me. Nothing blew me off my feet. It was good. It was a little bit predictable for me. As in, there was this huge mystery building up through the whole thing on why she was telling this story to this particular person, and it kind of came full circle and things like that. But you know, I'm not like this brilliant genius or anything, but I kind of had it figured out ahead of time. It was a good book. I think part of the problem with having something on your to be read list for so long and having all these people say so many great things about it, and so in your mind it just should be this mind-blowing thing, and it doesn't always work out that way. But like I said, it was a good book overall, you know, a quick read for me, and I would probably give that one about 4 stars, 3.5, 4 stars. It was not exactly what I was expecting, but still, you know, it was good. It was good. And for my audiobook, I listened to, read, whatever, Camino Island by John Grisham, and I actually really, really enjoyed this. It was very different than his normal lawyer type, law attorney, whatever. It followed a very interesting storyline. It was not overly violent, which I appreciated, because one of his I read not long back was a little bit violent, which doesn't bother me, but you know, when you're listening to a book, you don't necessarily want to hear about things like that. And it follows a plot line of a group of thieves stealing the F. Scott Fitzgerald original manuscripts from Princeton, and kind of the underground world of stolen art and artifacts and things like that. And some really great and colorful figures appear in it. None of the backstories of the characters were so complicated that it overrode the story itself. It was, you know, under the guise of being a writer who's got a writing block, the main character goes to Camino Island to help the insurance company that's going to be on the hook to pay back Princeton if these manuscripts aren't recovered. And she's sort of bumbling her way through to find clues and help out this insurance company. And it's, you know, all of it was like really believable to me, and the dialogue was hysterical when they have this like little writers group that gets together, and the characters were really well developed as far as a Grisham book would go. So on that basis, and the fact that, you know, I listen to the whole thing, when a lot of times I don't give audiobooks as much of a chance as I give books that I'm actually reading, just because if it doesn't grab me right away, I'm not going to suffer through, you know, 6 hours of it. So that one I would also give a 4 out of 5 to. It really held my attention, and it, like I said, it was very, very different than his typical lawyer, law, good versus bad, that kind of thing. And this one, the bad guys were the gang that stole it, but also they were out of the picture fairly early on. So it was good as far as that went. So those are the 3 that I've read in the last 10 days, probably more like 12. And I have my other 3 all queued up and ready to go, and I'm super excited about them. We'll see how it goes, and I appreciate you guys tuning in for this. I'll make sure that if I do post any more of these, they're very clearly in the title, booktube or book review or something like that. So like, if it's not your groove, I totally get it. It's, you know, it's just one of those things I like to do and I like to share. So I will see you guys next time, and please remember to always be kind to one another. Bye.